Geographical conditions provide different and all types of ecosystems in here. Principally, there is the tropic humid forest with a coverage of 50 million of hectares in Colombia, followed by the Andean forest with 9 million of hectares, and there are some other strategic ecosystems like the mangroves and the dry forest. Yes. So in total, the natural coverage in Colombia is of 61 million of hectares. Also, Colombia is like a mega diverse country. It has the first place in orchids and birds with 4,000 and 1,000 species approximately. This is the second country in plants and amphibians diversity, the third one in palms and reptile diversity, and the fourth one in mammals diversity. The scheme that is in the right side shows us the exclusive or the endemic species in Colombia. We have in total 54,000 of species approximately. But one of the principal problems in Colombia is the deforestation. The deforestation is caused by different problems like the fire, the change of the land use, the illegal logging, the colonization, and for 2013 there was deforested like 120,000 of hectares forest. And in the map of the left side, the red spots or the red marks shows us where is occurring the deforestation, that it's principally in the Andean zone, and this is because of the establishment of the cities in these places of Colombia. So that's why there's a necessity to quantify the real offer in Colombia related to our forests. So the Institute of Hydrology, Meteorology and Environmental Studies in Colombia, IDEAM, designed the methodology for the National Forest Inventory. The purpose was to obtain information to help in the elaboration of strategies oriented to the conservation and sustainable forest management. This is to identify the offer and the status of the forest, facilitating the monitoring in time of this thing. And why they have to do, or why they want to do this, is because it's necessary to protect the natural capital to ensure it's sustainable and reducing the deforestation. So basically the methodology consists of a systematic sampling. It's agreed in all the territory of 24 per 24 kilometers. Yes? Inside of each cell there are 4 clusters of 0.35 hectares. For the last year, they select a sample of 1,924 clusters distributed randomly in Colombia. So these clusters have a cross form with concentric circles. First, we have a subplot to evaluate the regeneration for the individuals that has 30 centimeters to 150 centimeters of height. Yes. There is another surface of 3-meter radius for the trees that has between 2.5 centimeters of DBH until 9.9 centimeters. Then we have a surface of 7 meters of radius to the trees that has between 10 and 30 centimeters of DBH. And then we have trees in the biggest surface of 15 meters of radius for trees that has more than 30 centimeters of DBH. And the principal objectives of this inventory is to calculate the biomass above ground, the volume, the forest structure, and the carbon. So the study area of our project was in Colombia, in the department of Boyacá. we installed 4 clusters in different municipalities, in San Luis de Gaceno, Guayatá, Cochabamba, and Tijuana, and they describe different life zones. The first one is humid tropical forest at height above sea level of 900 meters, and the other clusters were in high Andean forest. Yes, the high Andean forest goes up of 2,700 or 800 meters. So the materials and the database design was, the proposal was to design these databases in field map technology. We evaluated different characteristics of the trees, the dead trees, and the regeneration. Also, we make the maps of different coverage in the plots and other structures like the ways, the rivers, or else if there was in the plot. So this is a photo. Once we have positioned the tree, we measure it with the field map technology. We mark the trees at the DBH height with yellow painting, and we mark them with aluminum labels. Yes. So in the left corner, in the right corner, it's a tropical humid forest, and the rest of the photos are in high Andean forest. The structure in high Andean forest is a little more complex than in the humid tropical. The humid tropical has strata defined, but the high Andean has any type of stratum. It's all like a mess. So this is the forms that the field, the people in the field has to sign, but our proposal was to change this because there are like 13 forms to sign the information of the clusters. To our methodology, that is with the field map technology. It resumes all the information in one database, and we collect all the variables and all the attributes that they want. Yes. We collect data from the species. We have the codes in field. We have the types of stem. We have the coverage with the crown projection. And also we collect samples to identify these species, and we collect other samples of the wood to define the density of the wood for the biomass. And also the installation, it's a little better with the technology because in Colombia we have so high slopes, and the installation of a circular plot in a high slope place, it's a little more complex than if we do with the technology because it corrects the slope, and the installation it's easier. So this one is one photo of the set that we have, the Ursus in high Andean forest, and as you can see, there's we cannot define how is the structure of the forest. It's a little messy. Our principal results: first, the plot in tropical humid forest. We measure like near of 99 individuals with a coverage of 1,139 square meters of ground projection. This is the figure of the cluster that we made. These are some photographs of the cluster where we found a different coverage, like this one, that is like a swamp where we cannot access in that place. So in the cluster we also define the limits here. This is the limits of the swamp, that it covers half of the plot. And then we have the plots in high Andean forest, where the composition and the structure is a little more complex. It has more species, tropical has more species than high Andean. we found 89 individuals in the second cluster in Guayatá. The slopes are from 16 to 90%, and the height above sea level between 2,700 and 2,774 meters. So here is one plot, is the second cluster that we made, where you can see how is our forest in Colombia. Then the third cluster has 119 individuals. The slopes are from 62 to 84%, and the height above the sea level is in between 2,890 and 2,940 meters. These are some photos of the high Andean forest. And the final cluster that we made was of 129 individuals in slopes between 38 and 70% at heights of 2,800 and 2,900 meters above sea level. It's difficult to the access of these points because of the high slopes, so we work with different kind of equipment. We use the armor and the light version of the field map to collect the data, taking into account the accessibility. So some of our results related to the structure are that we found 39 botanical families. The scheme of the center shows us how many individuals are per family. The most important was in high Andean forest, the Cunoniacea and Brunelli and Chloranthacea family. These are Clusiacea. These are families that describe very good these forests. They are characteristic of the Andean forest, and the structure represents an inverted J. I don't know how to say that in here, but it describes that there are a lot of regeneration and few big individuals. Yes, this scheme shows us the number of individuals in the zones, in the 4 clusters per hectare. So related to the biomass and carbon, we use 2 formulas, one for high Andean forest and one for tropical forest. And we know that the biomass and the carbon are the most quantity that we have was in the clusters, principally in high Andean forest. It was in the cluster of Timaná, where we have, this is the biomass in tons per hectare, and there is the carbon in tons per hectare. Yes, in Timaná we have more than 200 of tons per hectare of biomass, and this is very important because it is necessary to develop programs of the payment to the ecosystem service in Colombia. So this is like an approximation to have them. And we compare this with other studies that shows us that in high Andean forest, there are similar values for this approximation. In the cluster of Guayatá, that is high Andean 2, there was the least value between biomass and carbon. And it was because it has a lot of intervention in the place. So this shows us lower values of biomass and carbon. So what's next? This project is still in developing. We want to define some scripts for the biomass and the carbon in these ecozones. We are doing some principal component analysis to to see how is the organization or how is the classification of these ecosystems and the species inside of them. What are the most attributes that define the structure of the forest. And also, we are trying to process this information in the inventory analysis. We have a little trouble with that because we don't have the approximation to how to process this information in there. So these are some references, and thanks.
Even we have some minutes to